Hello, everyone. Finally, another tea time. I promise I will find a regular time to do these. I'm just trying to stick with my intuition in this and in these like little journal prompts. If you're not aware, if this is the first video that you've seen, I do read tarot. Still learning a lot. Still learning to really trust myself in these readings as well so I could serve you guys. So if you want to check those as well, those are on my channel. But this is going to be a regular thing. This is something else I'd like to do, as well as talk on other subjects in the future. These are our tea time talks. It's kind of like journal prompts for you if you want to grow. I have a journal. I know that some people have messaged me saying that they've started a journal for these, and that really encouraged me. And thank you guys so much for supporting me in that. I really appreciate it. This is the second one. Of course, it's not in any specific order. This isn't like a lesson or anything. You can start at any moment. You could start with this one. I only have one more before this if you want to go ahead and dive deep into that as well. The last video, I will get passionate in this video, but I will also be kind of more, I guess you could say, tender and more. I will try to be like, yeah, there's some tough love, especially with codependency, and that's the subject today. But I feel like I also need to, because I know where people are coming from with codependent behavior. I really do. It's an everyday thing that we work on every single day. So if you do like these prompts, if you do like these videos, you don't have to have a journal, but I think it's really great for your growth to see how far you've come. Hold on, this is tea time, so you can grab a cup of tea, pause the video, or coffee. I usually drink coffee, but tea really, I don't know, it just helps me open up like this. Oh, it's fall, you guys. It's beautiful. The leaves are just falling. Well, but you know what I mean. They're just like, it's magical. So anyway, today, so if you haven't subscribed, if you don't know, I am coming out with mid-months as well. So you can still check it. I know it's the 7th when I'm recording this and when I plan to post it. But you can still check out the other one. It was a really great topic about taking back your personal power, which in turn kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about today. It doesn't matter what order you watch it in. Just I think it'd be a good tool with this reading or with this tea time. So let's get started. Today we are talking about codependency. Now, a lot of people think of codependency, and now it's starting to get around the initial, I guess you could say, definition of like how codependent our society is now in terms of love and relationships, the relationships with ourselves. It's really becoming apparent that this really toxic mindset has been instilled within us. And yeah, it's just, I've centered myself today to talk about this because it is very close to my heart. I feel extremely vulnerable speaking about it, even though it's no secret, even though it's something I'm not ashamed of anymore. I understand that I was in a different vibration, I was in a different place, I was in a different mindset, and I can't beat myself up about that, and neither can you. If you find that you have these qualities I'm about to list, try not to get defensive, and also don't think of it as something to be ashamed of. If you didn't grow up with codependent parents, if you didn't, have a hard childhood in terms of like not feeling loved or feeling abandoned, we still grew up in this, where everything outside of ourselves is supposed to validate us. Like, we were not taught by our culture to validate ourselves, and not a whole lot of cultures teach that, especially in ours. But also understand that I'm not saying, okay, it's not your fault how society has taught these things, but once you become aware, once you know, the light is shining on the uh, darker parts of yourself, so to speak, and you ignore it, that is on you. Your healing is your responsibility. And codependency, it's not going to go away. Okay? Now, I'm not saying you can't be healed. You can be healed, but it's not one of those, oh, I've worked real hard and one day I'm just healed. And then all of a sudden, all your problems are gone. No, you can still be confident and standing in your power, but you will have tendencies to revert back. There will be situations where you'll have to call yourself on your bullshit or have someone else call you on your bullshit. The thing I've found with most people who are codependent, it's really back and forth. But before I did get the definition of codependency. I know a lot of people think of drugs, and it's legit, but the definition is an excessive emotional or psychological reliance on a partner, typically a partner who requires support to an addiction or illness, whether it be mental or physical. That is the legit definition of codependency. And we see it a lot. We see it a lot. And the reason why I'm about to say this is kind of like a disclaimer almost, because one thing I noticed within myself and within other people who are completely unhealthy, codependent people, they are extremely defensive. If you ever confront them on their behavior, their cycles, their bullshit, so to speak, the things that hurt themselves and others, they will get defensive. I feel like there's two sides to the coin. I've seen people who are codependent who get super defensive, and people who just kind of, they're used to getting hit when they're down, and they just kind of take it, but it doesn't sink in. But one of the biggest ones that I see regularly is the defensive part. And I get that. It's because it is a psychological thing and it's an emotional addiction. Today we're going to talk about codependent relationships. Now I will get to a point where I'll be able to edit these videos and stuff like that. But I kind of like this free talk. I kind of like how I don't have any editing. Everything I say is just how I say. I'm presenting myself to you as authentically as possible. Hence the makeup, right? I do have videos where I don't have makeup, so yeah. We just won't combine them into one. So if you have your journals out, you can take notes. I do have just a few notes here. I'm going to try and speak from my experience and from the heart of how I was when I was codependent, what I noticed in others, because I did attract people around me who were codependent as well. And we ended up being codependent on each other in a very harmful way. There's a difference between interdependence and codependence. And I've learned between the two. Also, I will give my advice based on my experience for healing, as well as some things that I've learned from professionals and people who do this for a living, help people out of codependency. And watching these people and listening to what they have to say has definitely helped me a lot. Sorry, I get distracted by moving things. But today we are going to talk about the relationship part of being codependent. It's so vast, the different characteristics of codependency. I can tell you the main ones that I see that you'll probably be able to see in others or within yourself. I would more or less try to look within yourself first, and see if you have any of these qualities, simply because it'd be good to be aware of this part of yourself so that you could start healing and start breaking cycles. This will hurt. Sorry about it. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be a painful process because you're going to have to challenge yourself in ways you never have before. You're probably going to have to leave relationships that you never wanted to leave, that feel impossible to leave, because of the dynamic between you and the other person. Now, if you So there are some people who have wonderful partners, absolutely wonderful partners, and they're codependent. And on them, they may treat you like you as a codependent may treat them badly, or vice versa. You guys may both be codependent on each other. It's so strange, but like I said, I'm going to be going based on my experience and looking from the outside in to people that I ended up attracting into my life. Not in detail, but just some examples that I feel would benefit this tea talk. So let's go ahead and jump in to within family. I'll get to romance eventually because that's the huge one. That's the big one. But we can't ignore the basics. Our family involves our childhood, and we ignore the things that happen in our childhood to kind of bring us to this point of codependency. Excuse me. It involves a sip. I'll tell you why. Because my biological mother, we just made amends this year. I think I mentioned that in the last one. I think that I just started talking to my biological mother again. So that was a thing. But she was very codependent on me. Very much so. Not only did she take things out on me, but she also came to me for advice at an age where I had no business knowing what was going on within my parents' marriage. I had no business, even when I'm older, I feel like there's a certain level of boundaries you create as a parent. I'm okay with being open with my child. I have a daughter, okay? But I will never, not that I don't think it's good for her to know that there are struggles within marriage and the realistic things within marriage or anything like that, but as her parent, it is my job to not use her as like an emotional punching bag, because that is a thing. My biological mother kind of fucked me up in the sense that I felt completely responsible for how she felt. I felt completely responsible if she was sad, mad, happy, whatever. I felt responsible. I felt like I had to fix everything. I had to lift her up when she was down. She was my mother. I was young. I was like 6, 7, 8. I think I was 8 when she kind of dived into some things about even divorcing my dad. That's codependency. There is a level of responsibility. I'm not a pro parent, but I have learned a lot in being a parent. I have fucked up in many ways. I have had to face myself and break myself down to be the best parent I could possibly be. My worst fear is being not only a bad mom, but being that kind of mom. Okay, so just kind of getting personal with that. Our childhood has such a huge influence on how we perceive the world. I did feel abandoned by my mom. Even with my dad's the best dad in the world, but there were a few things that he made me feel about my weight, about my appearance, had nothing to do with my character, that made me feel like I wasn't worthy or good enough. Not that it was not his intention at all. We discussed it when I was an adult, actually not too long ago. These are things in our childhood that we kind of have to deal with first before we ever, because it kind of just links up like a chain to romantic relationships and everything. So as a child, we need to kind of go back. So if you do have a journal, try and write this down. What in my childhood showed me codependency? Whether it be from something as deep as parents or a Disney movie. All right. We have this really weird, I even saw an advertisement for this company that said men love the hero syndrome thing. And I'm sitting there, I was like, if you need to like save me and be my fucking knight in shining armor to feel like a man, you need to get the hell off my porch. Like seriously, I can save myself. We can lift each other up. We can get each other up. And I hear some of you. I see you. No, we can like lift each other up out of situations. Sorry, that was so funny. I am in no way ashamed of my sexuality. Like, what's up? Literally. So, but those are things in our childhood that we need to acknowledge, whether it be unrealistic expectations. Even a parent, they don't even have to fuck up. Even a parent who just showered you with everything you ever wanted and more, didn't teach you certain things that you have to work for, certain things that do take work. A parent that everyone thinks is just the golden parent that just gave their child everything, they are even harming their child. They are making a codependent personality because they haven't had any challenges in childhood or growing up, mistakes they make by themselves. And, overprotection, but, there are parents where I just look and I'm like, they're so awesome, and their children turn out to be super codependent people. And it could be because they didn't have any experience in making these mistakes in their life, and now they avoid it at all costs. And then they whine a lot, but that's just... Not all of them, but a lot of them. So anyway, childhood is the first step. So make a prompt in your journal to figure out what in childhood could have possibly led you to where you are. If you do feel like you're codependent, because you're watching this for a reason, right? I will go over like some of the, we're going to get into the personal stuff where you kind of show signs of being a codependent personality. But the roots are where we need to start. I just felt very led to start there. Because even if you're not codependent, at least you can sit there. And by the way, if you're not struggling with codependency, you're a strong personality, you're standing in your own. And even if you are, I forgot which way I said that, but if you are or you aren't, kind of make a T graph like in school and just list things that you kind of need to face about your past, and also like things that you're grateful for. Like, can these experiences, what do they teach me? How have they made me who I am today? You got to be grateful as well. These experiences are what we agreed to, I believe, before we came into this life. So with that said, this is going to be kind of a long video. That's okay. Now we're going to move into friendships. The codependent friend. You can be a 1 through 10 or a Millie Bobby Brown. I don't care. But I've had friends who were very codependent, but would think that they were very together, or not really together, but that they were kind of stronger. But then they'd have another friend where they were very outwardly, obviously a codependent personality, and then they would kind of like feed each other in a weird cycle. Because one feels like they need to be needed, and the other one is like, I want, and they're in this really weird friendship of like, even though this person is a complete dick and has done wrong, this person will somehow still choose this person because of how they feed each other, because they feel that connection, when really it's an illness, it's a codependency issue between the two friends. This is from a personal experience, and it is something that I've also seen outside of myself in situations. I see it every single day. I see friends that won't let friends go because they're afraid to be alone, because they're like, oh, this person has been with me for so long. If they're a fucking dipshit, I don't care how long you've been friends with them. You're holding on to them because there's something within you that doesn't feel confident enough to stand alone. Friends are important. It's an important subject to cover. You need to make sure your friends are authentic people, that they will grow just as you grow. They don't have to grow in the same way, but they are progressive in their own lives, in their own way. They will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Their relationships are healthy. They have long-term friendships. And it's an even give and take. You understand each other. You love each other. You're there for each other. I have these friendships right now, and I see you guys. If you're watching this, I love you. I love you so much. I don't know what I would do without you. That sounds kind of codependent in itself, but no, seriously, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Oh, thank you for being in my life. I'm just so grateful for you. Anyway, so I really am. I'm so grateful for my friends, you guys. And I feel like everyone deserves friends like that. They deserve a true circle of people who are honestly there for them. And some people don't know how to accept that. They'd rather be friends with people and keep it on a shallow level because of, I don't know, something that they feel fulfilled with that person, whether it be a social status or they feel like they belong to someone important because of lack of worth to people in their childhood. It could be so diverse. Also, another thing with codependent friendships that I see, people who are codependent aren't always in a victim mentality all the time, in the sense of like they won't outwardly make themselves a victim. They will choose people who agree with them all the time, so they don't challenge them, so that things don't shake up their world. I understand having a supportive friend, but you also need a person in your life, if you're close to them and you let them into your circle, to challenge you and be like, what the fuck is happening? Dude, listen, you know I love you, I support you, but this is bullshit. You're hurting yourself. You know what I mean? Or like, you know, and creating boundaries for yourself with other people. If they're hurting you or it's hurting you to see them hurting themselves, you have to create boundaries for yourself. And codependent people don't know how to do that. So with that, with friends, I'm not going to say a whole lot because I think it's pretty obvious in friendships if it's codependent on one another. You know, you depend on the other person for emotional support, to feel needed, to feel wanted, to feel valid. That is a thing. Same with like the whole followers and stuff on Instagram, and I don't know how many people use Facebook, but Twitter, Snapchat. I just got one. I've been kind of active the past few days. But anyway, you know, I just noticed how I said chat. But did you guys see I have my Harry Potter mug? I am a Hufflepuff and a Thunderbird in the American like school. I'm a Thunderpuff. I'm a Pokemon. Anyway, whatever. So, yeah, these are things to look out for. So right now, I'm going to kind of go over, before we get into the romantic relationship part, I'm going to go over some of the qualities of a codependent personality based on experience and what I've seen. And I kind of listed some already, but some of the biggest things is, one of the biggest things that is like the foundation of a codependent personality is there's this emptiness within them and this inability to validate themselves, this inability to see their own worth and truly know it. They will probably talk a big talk, but their actions speak way louder. They need exterior validation, typically from a romantic relationship. You can get it from friendships, both. It's like a source thing. There is a dynamic between a narcissist and a codependent a lot of times. You know, so the codependent can't focus on what they need for themselves, and they can focus on the narcissist, which is what the narcissist wants. As well as, you know, a codependent person, that's another thing. They will pour themselves. A lot of people think, oh, they're so giving and they're so sweet, and that's true, but their motivations behind it isn't because, and I hate to say it, and I'm sure somewhere deep within them, and because deep within me, there was a part of me that always wanted to love people. I just wanted to love people. I still do. I want to lift people up. I want to bring something to the world where people know their worth. But it didn't have a true depth and meaning until I figured out my own worth. Before, my motivations were completely selfish in the sense of I sought validation in a partner. I sought validation in my family. I put all this pressure into my exterior world and just completely ignored what was truly going on within me. I felt things very deeply, but I ignored them in such a way that it was so damaging to my mental, emotional, and physical health. So a codependent personality is gonna be completely unable to validate themselves. They will be in denial. They will think they can do it all on their own, but their actions speak so loud. And it's so loud, it's white noise to them and loud to the world. And if it's not loud to the world completely, it will be. But because there are obvious codependence and then there's subtle ways of codependency. But either way, that kind of holds, that little truth holds true. Truth holds true is the validation part. I remember feeling completely unworthy of people, like guys in particular were moving into the relationship thing. I would fall for guys who didn't fucking want me. Okay? They didn't want me. They didn't give a, like, I'm not gonna say they didn't give a shit about me because they really did. They were good friends. But I romantically clung to people. I didn't jump from relationship to relationship, but my heart could not help but jump from person to person. And so when one door would shut, I wouldn't just kind of take my time and allow myself to process these feelings, go to therapy if I needed to. My heart hopped to another person. I didn't have to be with them. I kind of always wanted to feel like I was being loved by someone who I thought I couldn't get. I wanted to prove how worthy of a partner I was to these people. Because if I could get them to just love me, then that validates my worth to be lovable. Because growing up, because of my weight, I'm still like a bigger girl, and except I'm at peace with that now. I try my best to take care of my body, but even so, like, I don't feel like I have to justify it. People don't know what I do on a daily basis to try and take care of my body, what I've had to go through to accept my body as it is. And that's something that codependent people can't do either. I lost 100 pounds in the past and still didn't feel worthy of love. I didn't feel like I was attractive. I didn't feel like I was, this or that. I could have used my, like, certain ways to gain people and into relationships, but I've always been a person that liked that emotional connection. And I ended up liking people who I felt would almost be a triumph. I know that sounds really bad because it was. I really did love them, but it was for selfish reasons. And I'll freely admit that. It wasn't fair for me to put that expectation on my partner to make me feel valid. I didn't need a fucking hero. I was my own hero. And it wasn't their responsibility to make me feel whole. And that's the codependent partner. That's the codependent person. If you don't feel whole within yourself, if you can't sit alone with yourself and enjoy your own company and really love just being alone, reading a book, just being alone. I've been alone for a while. And even I think I had a relationship for like 5 months. And in that relationship, it's only 5 months, but I learned so much. And when it ended, that was the straw that broke the camel's back in my codependent behavior. I was done. I was finished. I was hurt. You will learn things until, like, you will keep going through lessons until you fucking learn them. That's why they're called cycles. Because until you break it, you're going to keep doing it over and over and over again. I feel like I'm teaching. Circle. But in all seriousness, in relationships, I have seen in my own circles in the past a very abusive, emotionally unstable, codependent partner with a partner who was very loving and caring and attentive. But even that partner had some things they had to work through in their lives that they didn't work through or they were in denial about. You attract people into your life based on what you truly feel you're worth, or is a reflection of you in the sense of who you are deep down. I know that's scary. I know that's kind of hard to believe. That's hard to accept. But that is how it goes. That is something to think about. And I had to admit that my abusive partners, as well as partners who weren't loyal to me, partners who just weren't ready for what I had to offer, I had to face the fact that that was within me. It wasn't my fault how they acted, not by any stretch. I can't control what they do, but I have to take responsibility for the fact that I allowed those people in, I attracted those people into my life, and take a look at myself, like, what part of me is attracting these people so that that doesn't happen again. And the codependent person feels like they can't live without love. These are tea talks, so they're not, like, by the way, structured in any way, shape, or form. I am purely speaking from my heart space right now. Codependent people may be seen as lovers of love. They may be seen as hopeless romantics. They may be seen as you'll see them a lot of times, most of the time, and I know everybody knows at least one person like this, jump from relationship to relationship to relationship, and it's almost like clockwork. You can almost say they'll be with someone around this time frame, this relationship will last around this time frame. It's really heartbreaking, honestly. And that is a characteristic of a person who's codependent on romantic relationships. They can't be alone. They don't know how to be alone. They don't know how to love themselves. They don't know how to validate themselves. And a lot of them are in denial. A lot of them are in denial that they don't know how to love themselves. Because if they admit that they don't know how to love themselves, that means they have to work on it. Or now it's to their knowledge. And people say a lot of times, oh, I'm going to love recklessly and stuff. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm used to the whirlwind romance, just like everybody else, those intense emotions in the beginning and everything just like, whoa. Okay, whatever. But I don't know. I'm not old. I'm only 27. But I feel like I'm getting to the point in my life. I feel like I've lived many lifetimes. Animals, fur babies. I feel like I'm getting to the point in my personal life where I would rather establish something slow moving and something real and something fulfilling in the sense of I'm a whole person, they're a whole person, we both have our separate lives, we respect that, and we're going to not fit. I hate the word fit about fitting relationships together because it's like, oh, you belong here. No, like combining your lives together because you choose to, because you choose each other, not based on just physical things, not based on that lack of self-love for yourself, feeling half and you need a whole. Fuck that shit. We've been taught that shit since we were kids. Find your other half. You're my other half. You need to be fucking whole. That is not fair to the other person, and that definitely hinders your self-growth, your self-love, your spiritual growth, your emotional growth. It may even stunt your physical growth. I don't know. That's none of my business. Shit gets weird sometimes. But these are the characteristics of codependency. It's so small. This video is already 32 minutes. I feel like I have so much to say. I may make a part 2 next week instead of waiting bi-weekly, but still do a different subject in terms of a new tea talk. But this is the basics of codependency. Kind of gives you an idea. I shared some of my personal experiences. I know, and I'll just continue this. I know that for me, I was very, very codependent. I wanted validation from my dad. I wanted nothing but his approval. And of course, like, I know people are like, oh, who doesn't? And I was like, well, when you're secure in yourself and you're a daddy's girl and your father says, I don't really like your nose piercing, and you can look at him and be like, look, I know you don't like it, but I do. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be sassy. But, I mean, anyway, you don't have to be rude about it. You could say it with love and kindness. But when you can do that, that's when you're not codependent anymore. If I was still codependent and I got this pierced and my dad said something, I would probably be like, crying my eyes out and taking it out because my dad didn't like it. You know, even no matter how bad I wanted it, I would feel guilty for it. You know, it's just one of those things. You feel a lot of guilt, excess guilt that doesn't belong to you. You get defensive. Sometimes codependent can be kind of taken for a narcissist because of their behavior. Because codependent people, because they need something, because it is literally by definition an illness or an addiction, mentally or physically, whichever one. It's like being addicted to something in the physical, and you'll steal money, you'll do anything, you'll betray anyone, you'll beg, you'll plead, you'll cry just to get what you need so you can get that fix. It is the same thing with codependent personality. You will hurt people, and I don't give a fuck if you're watching this and said, I've been the one hurt, I haven't hurt anyone. Take another look. Take another look around you. If you have children, look at your children. Please look at your children. See how this is going to influence their life. See how this has influenced your friendships. Are your friendships non-existent when you're in a relationship? Do you find yourself in a relationship and somehow you come out of a relationship and all of a sudden you're like, I want to hang out with all my friends because you didn't when you were in a relationship? That's codependency. Have you noticed how you might have influenced and hurt your family as well? But you don't care because you're in love. You won't listen to their advice. You won't listen to what they have to say. Mind you, not all family knows what's best for you, and you have to differentiate between that, and I get that. But just people who love you. People who, there is literally no benefit to them at all. Trying to let you know how you're hurting yourself in other ways. And when they let you know that, yeah, they're also hurting, but they're hurting for you. And like I said, you have to differentiate between the two. But trust me, sometimes these messages, even from a person that, may not have the greatest history in this shit, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't listen. Sometimes these messages will keep coming to us from the most unlikely of places to help us come out of this place where we are just completely codependent. I would definitely take a look at that. So the prompt for this week is look at your past. What parts of you, if you are resonating with this, we will dive deeper next week. This is going to be a 40-minute video, but that's what these tea time talks are for. So first part being about what in your past would kind of prompt you to become sort of this codependent personality if you're resonating with it, or even in your partner, or even people in your life. Now, if it is people in your life, you can't tell them that they're codependent. You can kind of plant the seed probably, but they have to realize it on their own. And if it hurts you to watch them, sometimes it's going to take you just kind of walking away. Like, even if they don't learn their lesson, you have to take care of you at the end of the day. But if you are resonating with this, or you're a recovering codependent person and you're trying to find ways to keep moving forward, to kind of keep on track, kind of keep a check on yourself, so to speak, remember, start from childhood. Kind of write down a few things that you're grateful for from your childhood, and then write some things that could influence your behavior right now. And in the now, or in past relationships with friends, kind of write down some behaviors that you're like, that person like kind of treated me like shit, and I just kind of took it because I was afraid of like letting them go, and I kind of awkwardly am attached to them. Not awkwardly, or like weirdly attached to them when I really shouldn't be. And then take a look at, of course, romantic relationships. What is your history like? Were you completely enthralled in the relationship and put your friends aside? Were you willing to put up with abuse? I've been in abusive relationships, very bad ones. And I made up every excuse in the book because I was dependent on them for my validation, for my love. I'd never got it, but what's up? You know what I mean? Take a look at your past relationships and own up for your own behaviors within them. And then tell yourself that these qualities and these partners are something I don't want to deal with anymore. Whatever you have to do to kind of line things up so that you can really start working on yourself in this way. This is going to be a continuous healing journey. There is going to be a point where, like myself right now, it took a lot of hard work, but I am at a point where I feel very solid in who I am. I'm very confident in who I am. I'm back to being my strong personality that I've always been and meant to be. And it took a lot of heartbreak. It took a lot of cutting people out of my life. People that I loved so much. Like, it hurt. It hurt. I love them so much. But I had to do it. It took people letting me go. It took, because once you start standing up for yourself, there are people who are going to cut you out. When you start acting different from what they feel is a good person, because you're not the nice person anymore, they will cut you out. So be prepared. Also, like, you know, understand that this is going to be an everyday thing. It's going to be an exercise. It's going to be like a muscle that just gets stronger over time. So anyway, guys, that's the tea time. I'm pretty much out. But I love you guys. I love you so much. If you have any questions or if you've experienced this, comment below, subscribe, because there will be a part 2 to this. I feel like codependency is such a wide thing, and I just gave such a broad thing of it. I'm not trying to educate anyone as much as I am just sharing my experience and hoping that this can kind of prompt you to take a better look at yourself. But yeah, message me. Feel free to message me. Feel free to, you know, I will be setting up like one-on-ones with people on Skype and stuff when, as time goes on, if anyone, but I would like to get proper training, to kind of do that, as well as, but we are a community. You can go to my website. I'm still testing everything out. It'd be great if people signed up and kind of made a login and kind of, I put these, I have a separate place for these tea talks. There's a different tab for them. If you want to discuss your situation and maybe struggles that you have, whether you're recovering or just discovering this codependency within you, this behavior within you, this addiction, this very painful, hollow place inside of you, and truly trying to fill it with the things that matter and self-love and peace. And it all starts with you. So anyway, that is this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I will make a part 2 next week, I promise. So lots of love, all my love, and I will see you guys in the next video next week. See ya.